Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto anime review. This one's going to be for episode 149, which is called Friends. And this was a very good episode of Boruto. I do think it definitely depends on how you view Tento. If you can get into the character and what they're going for, like me, you will probably agree that this was actually a very well done episode with regards to the characterization. You got into the friendship between Boruto and Tento. You saw their similarities. You could get behind Tento's drive to accomplish something and realize that he's not just your sort of stock spoiled rich kid, but they're exploring that dynamic of what his life is like. And similarly, with the conversation between Naruto and the daimyo, we got the sort of alternate angle of the father, that he does care about Tento, but because of the situation he's in, it's a similar situation to Naruto and Boruto. Someone in a powerful position, he doesn't quite have the time to spend with his son, but they do enough to get across the idea that he does care, and that Boruto needed to develop himself rather than just like Naruto giving Boruto more time to understand Naruto's position. And I think we're sort of seeing a little bit of that with Tento as well, showing that he has this drive and desire, that the card collecting isn't just this thing to spend money, of he's really good at the game, he's into it, he participates in tournaments, and he hopes that by winning the tournament he can really prove to his father that that he can be proud of him. So if that's what I'm saying. If you can get behind Tento, I think you can see that this was actually a very well written episode with regards to characterization. A lot of the more kind of gap filler arcs, or whatever you want to call them, between this and the movie arc, you haven't seen sort of subtlety of character like we have here with Tento. Whereas the previous kind of spoiled rich kid from the original Naruto arc with the whole moneybags no jutsu, he was a very sort of one note character, where it's, even though they sort of got to an okay place at the end, he was very much just okay, yeah, that's the very basic view of it. Here they emphasize the similarity between Boruto and Tento very well, which worked. But if you can't get behind Tento, I can definitely see how, once again, this is more of a yeah, can we get to the important stuff here, get to the Magina Bandit. They're setting it up in the background more here, but it still hasn't happened yet. And this is where you have to realize that this arc is only going to be 4 or 5 episodes. And we're already 2 in, so there's only 2 or 3 episodes left. This arc here, the Magina Bandit arc, is actually a very small arc, in that it's only 5 chapters in the manga, and so far the anime has directly adapted 1 chapter per episode, and it's worked. But I think the importance of this arc is more of what it does right at the end in terms of setting up stuff going forward. The very, very interesting stuff in Boruto, the villains. That's the key thing towards the end. But it doesn't quite happen here. What does happen on that side of the story is that we basically get Shojoji, who's the leader of the Magina Bandits, taking out I suppose the daimyo family butler, Yamoka, and he does the corpse clone jutsu with him. That's the big reveal, is that when Yamoka goes off at the end of the episode after talking to Boruto, he is confronted by Shojoji and is killed and converted into a corpse clone. So they haven't, of course, revealed specifically in the anime yet the nature of the corpse clone jutsu, but if you've read the manga, you know what this means for Yamoka in terms of how he was killed. But the point is that now Shojoji is undercover within the kind of structure of the daimyo family, and so Boruto's bodyguard duty went well. He succeeded, he protected him the entire time, but now that it's over, Shojoji is in position to, of course, I suppose, kidnap Tento, and I suppose try and hold him hostage to get one over on the daimyo. So that's the sort of setup for where the arc is going. That was what was presented in the preview for next week's episode. So the action is definitely getting going next time out. But still, I did like that there was at least some setup here of like, okay, like Shijoji is actually being like a proper ninja, you know, transforming into someone, and with this very accurate clone jutsu. That's a specific transformation. Obviously, that jutsu will get explained, but it's very clearly him being a ninja, being clever in his planning, and not just going in and trying to cause a fight when the entire Leaf Village would probably come after him. So he has to be stealthy, and that's well thought out. As for like the rest of the episode, it basically comes down to the fact that Boruto goes into this one still thinking that Tento's just the spoiled brat, going there, finding that they've kind of booked out the entire hotel, the entire garden and stuff like that, and he just thinks that Tento is nothing but that spoiled brat that you would think he is. But very quickly he does begin to find out that there is more to him than sort of meets the eye. The fact that, okay, he wants to see Boruto do some jutsu, of course, getting to see ninja up close. That's fine. But he also wants to learn it as well. And this is the key point here of like, Boruto has learned the lesson of the importance of hard work. That was his arc in the movie arc. Now Tento basically gets that same thing, but we see that it was always sort of a part of him, which is very interesting to see that, his interactions with Boruto is sort of drawing this out of him. You'd think he would just like quit after failing to throw the shuriken a few times and try and buy some piece of technology that could accurately fire the shuriken or something like that. But no, he sticks with it, and Boruto is surprised but also impressed that Tento does stick to it and learns the lesson that Boruto did. So I really like that comparison there of Boruto had this change of perspective in his arc, and now that is important to him, and he notes that as a positive trait in others. And so he puts time into training Tento because he cares about that they initially start off with the idea of like, oh, Boruto, there's one card you really, really want. I'll give you that card if you train me ninjutsu. But it goes beyond that into more of just, I want to help you because I see something in you, rather than just wanting to get the card from each other. In that's what like the first episode sort of set up, is that Tento has the card Boruto wants, and Boruto has the card Tento wants. But by the end of this episode, they get across that idea of they're not going to just take it from each other. It's not as simple as just giving the card to each other. This isn't going to be just a simple trade thing. They both have that sense of sort of wanting to earn it now. In that when Boruto gives Tento the 7th Hokage card, he's super excited, finally completing his collection. But he gives it back to Boruto and says, no, I want to earn it too. And Boruto, I like that they still acknowledge Tento as a kid, so Boruto does a very sort of basic, but I think it makes sense, response of like, no, treat this as just like a kind of reward for sticking with the Shuriken Jutsu and accomplishing it. That this is something you did earn. I'm not just giving it to you. It's a reward for succeeding at the training that we did. And that's sort of that important lesson for Tento. And we'll see, of course, what happens with the card that Boruto wants. But you basically get the answer to the question about what is the card, who is the ninja that Boruto looks up to above all else, in the same way that Tento like really cares about Naruto. It's Sasuke, of course, for Boruto. We pretty much already knew that. And especially with some of the filler arcs, the fact that we have seen a little bit more of a dynamic between Sasuke and Boruto in the anime through some of those filler arcs, it makes a little bit more sense than just having the movie arc. But still, what I liked here, of course, was again bringing up the line and I suppose the reasoning here of Boruto, the type of ninja he wants to become, is the ninja who can support the Hokage. Boruto does not want to become the Hokage. That is Sarada's goal. Instead, Boruto wants to be like Sasuke, who supports Naruto. And so that's an important sort of, desire in all of this. And then with Tento, his goal is actually that he also wants to do training. He wants to become a ninja. He wants to get a card for himself. And I think that's just I think they've managed to construct a pretty nice character arc for Tento, kind of based around the card game. It's a game that he's good at, he cares about, he collects, but he also has this kind of bigger goal into the future, kind of like Boruto has, of I would like to get a card of myself one day. That would be this ultimate proof that I've kind of earned and like done the hard work and earned the right to be kind of acknowledged in this card game. So that's pretty cool, because the card game is like an important kind of thing across this arc, and I actually think it works quite well in terms of how they do it. So it may seem like just this sort of kind of fillery thing, because of course in the anime we already had an episode about the cards, so this in the manga was the debut of the cards, but now we're returning to it. But it is actually an important kind of plot point in general. But yeah, like most of the episode, like the episode goes like 16-17 minutes or something like that, with just pretty much Boruto and Tento, and then we get sort of the important scene with Yamoka of like where the black credit card came from. That this was the daimyo's gift to his son for his birthday, and I like how they play this one in that it's this amazing credit card that can buy anything. It's basically got unlimited money on it, but it's more of the significance that the father didn't have time or the knowledge about his son to know in any way what he wanted. And there's still that sense of like the father doesn't know that like what the cards are that his son is so into. Just that, oh yeah, he collects cards, he's into ninjas. That's really it. Like the fact that he gave him a gift is kind of still, nice, but it's very much this sort of like, thoughtless gift in a way of just, here's a thing to buy whatever you want. And it's good, but you can tell that Tento is like, deep down sort of hurt by the fact that it wasn't something more personal in a way. And that is sort of what shaped Tento into, what we saw in like the first episode, where he was just buying up stuff and being sort of spiteful of like, oh, I can't get what I want, I'll just buy what you want and keep it from you. That sort of dynamic, and we're seeing that, okay, there is this better side to Tento that does come out, that there is hope for him, potential for him, and he is actually a very interesting character. So I definitely do like that, and I like that they didn't just present the daimyo as just being a bad father. I like that there was that sort of nuanced discussion between Tento and Naruto, that he as a leader cares about the nation. He still wants to make a move to what were they talking about, like lower the defense budget and put it more into sort of just more modern sort of city like things. Like what was it, like social investments and stuff like that, whatever they said about it. And Naruto's just like, okay, I understand that, but like shinobi will still do what shinobi do regardless of if you decrease or increase the budget. And the daimyo respects that, and I liked you had that line of the daimyo basically telling Naruto, call me just by my name. You don't need to have to add any extra honorific onto it. I feel at ease around you. That's a nice dynamic to have. Whereas the daimyos in like the original series were just these kind of like nobles, and that was really all there was to them. And you rarely got a sense for really what the dynamic was. They ended up being like okay. They weren't like exactly presenting them like the celestial dragons from One Piece or something like that. So it's nice to see that the current daimyo is a somewhat reasonable guy. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I think that's most of what I want to talk about with this episode. It's one of those ones where like it was actually a strong character episode, but I can see why it's maybe not exactly what some people want. But we know immediately the next few episodes are going to be much more action packed, and we're getting into the sort of meat of the arc. And by the end of this arc, we'll be sort of right into the important Boruto stuff, the stuff that is really, really good in the Boruto manga. And it's why Boruto is kind of has this potential as a series, basically. And it's taken a long time for the anime to get here, but I think once they deliver on this new kind of villain group we're going to get introduced to, I think people who are anime only are going to be just as hyped about the potential for Boruto as the manga readers are. So in the comments, let me know your thoughts were on this episode, but that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.